Welcome back, everyone. You're watching Afternoon Prime. I now want to show you two daring rescue operations that the Indian Air Force has conducted today. First, the pictures that came to us from Bilaspur this morning. This is where a Mi-17 helicopter of the Indian Air Force, and you'll see it on your screens in just a bit, came to the rescue of a man who was stuck in the Khotaghat Dam, which is in Bilaspur. He was stuck there for 16 hours, almost 16 hours. He was sitting on a stone, holding a tree, trying to keep himself safe from these torrential waters of the dam that you can see. Soon you had a Mi-17 helicopter winching up this man. Again, a very specialized operation. This sort of operation requires the pilot to be precise. It requires a very experienced and highly skilled pilot to do what this pilot of the Mi-17 has done, hovering over this dam when the fierce waters of the dam are flowing across. Could have harmed the helicopter as well, put the helicopter at risk as well. But this helicopter, Mi-17 of the Indian Air Force, hovering over the dam, making sure it gets to the right position, exactly where this man was. This man's name is Mr. Rakesh Kashyap, I believe, where Mr. Rakesh Kashyap was, sitting on a stone, holding a tree for the last 16 hours, hoping like hell that someone will come and rescue him. So that has happened. This operation happened in the morning. This is the man we are talking about. That is Mr. Kashyap, who's sitting on that stone holding a tree, and then you saw the Mi-17 helicopter come in, hover. The entire operation took about 40 to 45 minutes. So these are the dramatic pictures that came to us from Bilaspur in Chhattisgarh. We are being told by Chhattisgarh authorities that this is the first time that an operation like this had taken place. They are thankful to the Indian Air Force. Now, the second set of pictures is coming to us from Mauritius. You do know that a couple of days ago there was an oil spill off the coast of Mauritius. This is the tanker, the Japanese tanker that struck a coral reef, and 1,000 tons of oil spilled on to the Indian Ocean. This is a huge environmental catastrophe, as it were. The Mauritius authorities called the Indian government. The Indian Coast Guard, as you know, has a specialized team that can deal with oil spills. This team was rushed in. Some 300 tons of equipment were rushed in via the Indian Air Force. And now you have two Indian Air Force helicopters, the Cheetah and the Dhruv. The Chetak and the Dhruvs are helping clean up the oil spill. This is, again, an operation that will take many, many days because it's 1,000 tons of oil spill. So it will, of course, take a bit of time. But the Indian government and the Indian Air Force coming to the rescue of friendly countries, in this case Mauritius, which is seeing a huge environment disaster. Let me go straight across to Air Vice Marshal Manmohan Bahadur, who is joining us on the phone line, himself an accomplished, all right, we'll try and go across to him. He's himself an accomplished helicopter pilot. But these pictures really tell you, and these, by the way, these pictures are coming to us on a day when the world is celebrating Helicopter Day. Now, I didn't know that such a thing even existed. I don't think most Air Force helicopter pilots knew that such a day existed, but well, it does. And on a day like this, we are seeing the Indian Air Force come to the rescue of not just its own citizens, but come to the rescue of friendly countries as well. Those two dramatic rescue operations, ladies and gentlemen, on your screens, a tribute to the skill, a tribute to the expertise, a tribute to the training of the Indian Air Force. Let me go straight across to Air Vice Marshal Manmohan Bahadur, who is joining us on the phone line. Air Vice Marshal, let me start with the Bilaspur pictures, and I'd request our producers to put those rather dramatic pictures that came to us early in the day today on our screens. Just talk us through you know, how difficult an operation like this is. We are seeing this man who's been sitting on a stone or rock, holding a tree for the last 16 hours, trying to save himself from these torrential waters of the dam. Tell us, tell us why this rescue operation is a tribute to all Indian Air Force helicopter pilots.
Luckily, I think yesterday was helicopter day, helicopter day too.
Okay.
That being besides the point. The persons who are in inaccessible areas who cannot be reached, and as you see on the video, the person is sitting with the raging waters all around.
Yeah.
And the only way to get him out after all the police tried was to send in a helicopter. And when the helicopter goes there, first he lowers the winch, and actually the pilots don't see the person because the person vanishes below the pilot's floorboard, the cockpit floorboard. And it is the flight gunner whom you see in in the door who is actually guiding on the intercom the pilot. A little forward, a little left, little back, slow, steady. These are the standard orders that he gives instructions, he passes to the pilot, who maintains a very steady, as far as possible, a rock steady hover. And then simultaneously the sling is rolled down. In the earlier videos, you would have seen that a flight gunner also went down.
Correct.
So as to bring him up along with. But that was not happening because of the swing that was happening. That was because of the winds, and the flight gunner's body was, taking him too much away. So that's the time they were winched up again, the flight gunner, and only the sling was lowered down. And the person got inside. Actually, a big tribute to that person too, because having been in water for 12 hours or more, he's frozen as it is. Plus, the danger to his life. But he held his cool, sat down properly, held on to the rope, the cable, and then he was winched up. And as the winch comes up, the cable comes up. When it comes level with the floorboard, the flight gunner slows down the reeling in process so that his head does not hit the floorboard.
Correct.
And then he's pulled down, pulled in, and put inside. So that's what happens in a rescue on land in a restricted area like this. Because in the video you can see there are cables, and the pilot can't see where his tail is.
Correct.
So very nicely done effort. And I'm quite sure these are the aircraft from Raipur who are actually deployed there for anti-Naxal operation.
And we're seeing a lot of people who have gathered at the dam to see this rescue operation take place as well. Quite dramatic, as it were, with the flowing waters and the helicopter hovering over, and this poor man, sitting on a rock, holding that tree. All of those pictures really very clearly visual. I think a tribute to the expertise of our Indian Air Force helicopter pilots. Sir, let's talk about the second set of pictures that has come to us today. And these have come to us from Mauritius, where there's been an oil spill, 1,000 tons of oil that have been spilled into the Indian Ocean because of an accident that takes place. Is this, oil spills are a specialization in its own. I do understand that the Coast Guard has, has equipment and crews to deal specifically with oil spills. How does the Air Force, get roped into helping Mauritius, for example, in this case, clean up the oil spill? And what does that require?
First of all, if I can just go back to that video of that Bilaspur, you heard the crowd cheering despite the noise of the helicopter. That gave me goosebumps. That's such a nice feeling, interacting and connecting with your own people. Now, to Mauritius, you see that's the specialized equipment which is sprayed over the water surface, because ecologically oil, as you know, is bad for sea life, bad for as a pollution to the beaches. So it sort of sucks up the oil, and it is specialized equipment, and thereafter we saw in the video that it is taken and put into that barge.
Okay.
So do this as a routine measure.
Okay.
It's only the
all right, sir. Thank you very much for joining us and describing to us what those rescue operations